Hi everybody, so today I'm going to be sharing my research within this topic of inequality of sports. So I'll start with my 3 literature reviews. I found ones that related to media representation, sports, and gender differences. To my not surprise at all, 3 of my journals were very similar in results. As mentioned in the assignment introduction, inequity and disparity are very common across many boards of physical education and in sports. We know from the very beginning times men have been the ones to be watched and seen when it comes to sports. Within this, I am discussing the lack of minority representation on the TV screen. When it comes to media, there is a very significant difference between men's screen times versus women's. Research shows that in television and in newspapers, males were previewed and showed way more often than their female counterparts. Scott et al. With this finding, we can see that there is an issue with representation here. There is also an overbearing difference when it comes to the coaching staff. One source states that over 90% of the athletic directors in the nation were male. Peterson et al. This also can cause hardships due to a difference in power. I believe it also makes women in sports feel less comfortable when they don't have that similar woman figure in that directory to go to. In my final source, I found that though the increase of men and interracial individuals are growing, we can see that their representation in the media still lacks. Sayudo et al. Again, this just reiterates the entire concept that yes, this is a progressing thing, but there's also much more work to be done. Moving on to the newspaper segment. The newspaper I studied was Chelsea Football Club. This news covers many stories regarding men's and women's football teams regionally in Chelsea, London. I accessed this newspaper source online. I chose this newspaper because it is very heavy on inclusivity and equality, which I thought would be very interesting to find for my results. So my 3 tables I have here, and I'll talk about what those are. So my results showed that within the Chelsea football newspaper, the majority of posted stories were male-focused. And we can see that in the second table here, out of the 7 consecutive days that I studied, 5 of those were male and 2 of those were female. In regards to the length varied on what was being proposed, but the average for the male was medium to long length in story, so about 4 pages, while the female was much shorter to medium length, so about 2 pages. And this is in the third chart at the very bottom. We can see that the average length is 4, and then the female is 2. And then finally, the number of male photos I counted out of the 5 stories posted was 31 photos, while the women had 5 photos. And this is in the first data table here. We've got the first one, which is about 31 photos, and the second about 5. So for conclusion, the research I found was very apparent in that the media heavily favors their male audience and depicts many more stories showing and viewing males, even when it comes from a newspaper such as the Chelsea one, where they rely heavily on inclusivity and equality. We can see clearly a difference in the amount of male media coverage versus female, not only in the amount of stories posted weekly, but within those posts we see photos of men that are very predominant, while the women's photos are not as much. Though, as I said previously, each story was different in terms of length because some posts only covered results of maybe a match results, which can cause the length of the article to be very short, while another may be depicting proper workout forms, which in that case, many more pictures are required, hence so many pictures of the males. Each one varied, but I do see the importance in the difference of media coverage. I do think that this relates heavily to the research articles in the beginning that I researched. All those articles mentioned the majority of media coverage being male heavy, and this reflected that. And then here are my references, and thank you so much.